Joining me now is Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, who sits on the Armed Services Committee. Senator, absent control of the Senate, because you don't have control of the Senate at this moment, given the dire situation that we're facing, what can and should Republicans do right now to address what is a 911 emergency?
Well, Laura, we hope to win back control this fall so we can begin to get to the bottom of a lot of what's been happening in this Pentagon, whether it's the foolish and wasted witch hunt looking for so-called extremists or some of the challenges that you outline in our recruiting. But I've taken steps already. Earlier in this Congress, I demanded that all officers being promoted to the general ranks answer a series of simple questions, like do they believe the Constitution and the Declaration is racist, or do they believe that skin color should be a primary consideration for promotion in the military? And I said if they get it wrong, I'm not going to waive their nomination through. And I've got a lot of feedback from the officer corps that is filtered down, and the message is being sent that they should not be engaged in those kind of politically charged issues, that we need a professional officer corps that does not get engaged in politics in any way and that is focused on the military's sole mission, which is fighting and winning our nation's wars.
So right now, unless you guys have the Senate, you have the majority in the Senate, there's nothing. I mean, you've written the letter, you've asked them the questions, but there's nothing else you guys can do? Because last time I checked, every Republican is voting for this massive increase in military spending, given all the things that we're seeing out there in the Pentagon.
Well, no, Laura, there's more that we can do as well. In addition to the oversight hearings that we always have, that we can push our senior military leaders on these questions, there is, as you point out, the annual defense bill. I voted against that this year in committee, just like I voted against it last year in committee, because it had so much of this left-wing social engineering. I'm not just going to vote for something because they slapped defense on it, and I don't think a lot of our troops want us to either. Now, in the end, we were able to strip out almost all of those provisions, and I was able to support it in the end. I hope to do that again this year, but I'm not going to vote for a bill that, for instance, requires women to enter the draft, something that is massively unpopular with the American people, to include women in America. Again, our military, it's not a jobs program. It's not designed to engage in social engineering. It's designed to fight and win our nation's wars. And as you outlined at the beginning, we face a recruiting crisis as bad as it's been since Vietnam. That's not because there's a strong economy. We've had strong economies before. It's because so many kids who might join the Army or the Marine Corps or the Navy, the Air Force, see some of these controversies. They hear about it from people on active duty, and they decide that maybe they don't want to do it right now. I mean, kids who are thinking about joining our military, they want to learn how to kill bad guys. They don't want to learn how to use the right pronouns.
Right, and to that point, Senator, here's the Air Force Chief of Staff today detailing one of their so-called top priorities. Watch.
The one thing about George Floyd's death, as tragic as it has been, is open up our nation to conversation. The key part is not that we talk about it, it's the things that we're doing to work diversity and inclusion. We got to resource it. We got to put money behind it if it requires money. We got to put personnel behind it. We've got to have leadership involvement, and we've been doing that.
Senator, climate change? Really?
Yeah, these are not the priorities of an 18-year-old that wants to join our military.
Our military is
already one of the most diverse.
We're paying for this.
But our military is already one of the most diverse institutions in America. When I served on active duty, we had blacks, we had Latinos, Asians, whites. What mattered to us was not the color of our skin. It was the red, white, and blue that we all wore on our shoulder. But when you hear this from these liberals who want to neuter the military year after year, that the military is full of racial extremists and sexual predators, that it produces all these traumatized, fragile eggshells, that America is not a country that we should be proud of and be willing to fight for, we shouldn't be surprised that young men and women are reluctant to sign up for our military.
The CIA director referenced the issue of the climate. Watch. I think we have.
The biggest existential threat in many ways is climate change. So it is our responsibility to help policymakers in the U.S. government understand the consequences of climate change. We created, as part of a new mission center, a unit that's focused on these issues. We've expanded its staff.
So This is what our CIA is pushing. The Air Force is pushing the diversity, equity, inclusion agenda. What do you think China's thinking watching all of this? Can they actually believe it's going to be, this is the United States of America?
Well, China's probably laughing that a major political party and its chief enemy, the Democratic Party, wants to hamstring oil and gas production, in which we're the world's leader. And they want to empower so-called green energy technology, which China is the world leader of. That would be their national strategy. But climate change is not the single biggest existential crisis that we face. The biggest existential crisis we face is that China wants to replace us as a world superpower, and they are rapidly building out their nuclear forces that may one day overmatch our nuclear forces. That's a real existential crisis.
Well, Senator, I hope we certainly get to the bottom of this recruitment crisis in the military. This, from the vaccine mandate to the wokeness to, I mean, this is all we should be talking about. And I appreciate your pressing them on all these issues. Thank you.